Arata-san is not your ordinary Demon Lord candidate. Bro grew up daydreaming of squishy melons and immaculate opie. As luck would have it, he ended up in a school filled with powerful yet tempting girls who represented the 7 deadly sins. Follow along as Arata tries to seduce and control the Trinity Seven in hopes of becoming the Demon Lord. In a pitch-black void, Arata woke up to the sight of a beautiful girl calling out to him. As he was struggling to catch up to her, he noticed he was coping a feel of Arin in the real world. Squeeze the juices out of those oranges, my boy. Arin was disappointed by his unnaturally lewd sensations and demanded an immediate apology, but Arata changed the topic and started talking about the painting she gave him when they were children. These two were cousins, and she could even be considered as his stepsister of sorts. They walked to school together while Arata noticed the weird-looking sun. Just then, a pink hair cutie activated his subconscious and disappeared into thin air. This left our boy wondering what she meant and why the sun was black all of a sudden. Arin tried talking to him on the roof and denied any changes in the sun, claiming it has always been black. 'Cause once you go black, there is no going back. Arin leaned into him and started giving off hoochie mama vibes, but in a good way. As she confessed her love to him, Bro started questioning her credibility and wondered if she was the real deal. He started asking her personal questions like his birthday and places he hides his dirty magazine. He then asked her what color the sun was and took out the picture she drew, indicating a reddish glowing star. He caught her dead to rights and told her to confess who she was. Arin started giving off evil vibes and shots were fired from above. It was the pink-haired cutie, Lilith Asami, with the sweet rack. Not my words, but word for word what Arata described her as. She informed him that they were mages, and Arin changed the landscape with a single snap. What happened to the city? Lilith explained how the city was destroyed by a breakdown phenomenon, triggering a hidden memory in Arata's brain. Sounds like an endgame Infinity Gauntlet threat. The real Arin gave our boy a grimoire and instructed him to save the world before it collapsed. He tried begging her to stay, but she gave him a gentle kiss and dissipated into dust. Arata was then launched into the void. Helpless and alone, he screamed until the grimoire decided to help him. The fake Arin revealed to be the grimoire and insisted she created this world, according to his specifications. Lilith objected her claims and told them how she was sent by the school administrator to investigate the matter. Upon arriving, she was surprised that the city seemed intact, and the breakdown phenomenon was stopped by a measly grimoire. She found this extremely troubling and pointed her sniper at Arata, threatening to blow off his face if he doesn't hand the grimoire over to her. Bro did not take this lightly, since he wasn't willing to forget his beloved stepsis. The grimoire assured him that she was alive in another dimension, somewhere only the elite could access. After hearing her theory, Arata made his choice and refused to hand over his grimoire. Instead, he headed over to their academy and was welcomed by Missy Double D's. She considered him a lunatic, since he promised to become a mage and master his grimoire. What a ballsy move. He was then surprised to hear Lilith was a teacher here, even though they were of the same age. He kept on calling her Tits and was welcomed to the class as a new transfer student. The usual anime trope, of course. One of the students got up and asked him what kind of girls he liked. Our boy took the opportunity to emphasize and highlight his love for good old binoculars, the badonkadonkas, the headlights, the melodious melons of the heavenly palace. You could tell he was a man of culture, since he appreciated the value of cleavage. Afterward, they announced how he created his own world, which was an inclusive power of the Demon Lord. Rumors started spreading, and the headmaster took this as a sign. He welcomed Arata to the institution and wished him the best of luck, since he'll have to earn his keep here. The headmaster informed him how he'll have to power up before gaining access to separate realms and dimensions. If he wished to save his loved one, he has to overcome the 7 most powerful students on campus, also known as the Trinity Seven. Consider them the final bosses, and Lilith was considered as one of them. Arata was up to the task, since he was all about the wild, lewd life. Afterward, he was introduced to the gorgeous Levi, a ninja. Anime has ruined us with these gender swap names. Since when was Levi a girl's name? Regardless, she also had a nice rack and was exactly Arata's type, one of the 7 Trinity members who used her sexy ninja arts to arouse and defeat her enemies. She started seducing our boy and told him how hot he was. She then pointed to the other members of the Trinity Seven who were just minding their own business, the elite members of the institution. Lilith tried reprimanding them both and ended up blushing due to their provocation. She stormed off feeling upset and was looking quite feisty from the looks of it. Later that night, Arata went to bed and summoned his grimoire, who insisted he took a bath. As he stepped in, he met the other version of Arin, who looked weirdly similar to his former childhood crush. She didn't realize why he was looking at her strangely, and our boy ran out and met Lilith, who couldn't handle his nakedness. She explained what happened and commanded Arin to put on some clothes. The grimoire told him not to get attached, since they were different people. The following day, Lilith was lecturing the class on the fundamentals of magic, while everyone was busy staring at the supposed Demon Lord candidate. Arin, for one, was obsessed and followed him everywhere. She was stuck to him like white on rice and refused to take no for an answer. Her sense of humor was quite dull and her tone remained monotonous throughout their entire conversation. If I didn't know better, I would have took her for a robot. She then explained how she was meant to be the bride of the Demon Lord candidate and was obliged to mate with him. Should we consider this as a free pass to her sacred garden? Later on, Lilith, Levi and the journalist Sherlock were in his room ready to get their freak on. Sherlock was hyped up to ask him questions while Lilith kept on making excuses to stay with them. Our boy sat down and started narrating his life story while Levi tried flirting with him. However, he had his eyes set on the biggest bonkers in the school, aka Lilith Swan. She was about to eat him whole until Arata changed the topic and started asking about magic, which sent them into a wild fantasy for a moment. These two were jolted back to reality, where Lilith was asked what grimoires actually are. His specific grimoire was unique, in that it was called the Codex, one which possessed all the knowledge of the separate world. He kept on recalling his past lover, while Lilith continued explaining the concept of the 7 deadly sins and how they played a major role in stabilizing their world. Just then, their room went dark, and Bro didn't hesitate to cope a feel. His grimoire lit up and explained that they were in a barrier. Arata ended up receiving a slap, and his codex told them not to panic, since someone manually constructed the barrier. They just need to find the mark and destroy it, that's all. Arata considered this as a game and his grimoire went to sleep, but at least it kept the light on. He kept on destroying everything, in hopes of finding the mark. The girls were astounded by his effort and stood there contemplating how they could escape before he trashes the entire room. They couldn't fathom who would be responsible, especially inside the dorm room. Arin looked on as they played hide and seek with the barrier mark. The girls told him to hurry up since there was no toilet and Lilith could no longer hold it in. What an awful timing. What was she going to do now? As she squirmed on the floor, Arata had to think fast before his loved one perished by the hands of Mother Nature. She could no longer hold it in, and Levi was feeling the same and hypnotized Sherlock as well. The girls were unable to keep it in their pants and felt extremely bothered. Arata had no option but to ask help from his grimoire. The girls understood the assignment and got up feeling confident. Lilith told Levi to look under the bed, and upon finding the barrier, she didn't even hesitate to destroy it. They ran out as fast as they could while the grimoire warned him to choose his tamer wisely. Arin popped up behind him to explain the importance of tamer and what they represent. Basically, one of the 7 deadly sins. Arata realized she was behind the barrier but didn't dislike it since he loved the challenge. Arin was confused by his demeanor and tried speaking with his grimoire. She took it and tried analyzing its power, then confirmed he was the next Demon Lord, or as she called it, the bad guy's boss. Way to rub it in, I suppose. Out of nowhere, the headmaster crashed into the window and the duo left him to speak in private. But as usual, Lilith had to tag along since she couldn't let Arata out of her sights. Arin tried joking about consummation, but Lilith wasn't going to stand back and watch. This guy was smacked by everyone. Arin then revealed how the headmaster ordered her to trap him inside a barrier to unlock his latent potential. Lilith couldn't fathom why they did it until Arin touched his hand and revealed her tamer. She transformed on the spot and informed Lilith how she destroyed Arata's limitation, thereby unleashing his full power. I'm guessing her deadly sin was wrath, since her ability caused another breakdown phenomenon. Levi was growing worried while the sun turned black, and the headmaster applauded his immense power. At this rate, the school, nay, the entire town would collapse. What was Arin thinking? Lilith pulled her gun and was about to end his life until Arin defended her future husband. Just then, the 2 elite members of the Trinity Seven, Mira and Akio, came by to end his life. These 2 were known as the Executioners Squad, and Mira in particular possessed the sin of pride. Akio powered up and kicked Arata into another dimension. The scene then shifted to a beach scene with Arata as the head chef. Lilith explained how this was his punishment for destroying the entire school. Wait a minute, did they simply fast forward without any explanations? That's weird. They were now at a tropical island serving the hot babes and enjoying their time, while the headmaster used his magic to fix the school. These sequence of events make no sense, but at least Levi and Sherlock were looking fabulous. Arata complimented their physique and focused on the most important ones. Q, Lilith Swan, the hottest girl of the entire school. Our boy kept on creating fantasies with her and decided to ask for her hand in marriage. This made her blush for a second until she realized there was a gun to squeeze the life out of him. We were then flashed back to the moment Akio kicked him to another realm. His magic disappeared, but the breakdown phenomenon wasn't gone just yet. What was going on? Oh yeah, Arata was still alive, inside a musical dimension it seems. He opened the heavenly door and was introduced to another member of the Trinity Seven, Yui. She welcomed him to her room and explained how Akio would have killed him with her kick had it not been for her timely intervention. She showed him a glimpse of the real world, where people started vanishing into thin air. Levi was shaking in her boots while Mira and Akio couldn't wrap their heads around this predicament. Arata asked her to send him back, but he was still oblivious as to how he should stop the breakdown phenomenon. Yui was impressed with his zealous effort and commanded him to find his tamer and control it. In order to be a mage, he must conquer one of the 7 deadly sins and unlock its full power. Yui was quite knowledgeable, wasn't she? Arata kept on remembering Mira's tamer, Pride, and tried to mimic a similar ability. He seemed to have found his groove and continued to compliment her good looks. She reciprocated and sent him back to the real world. He showed up inside the barrier and asked them to trust him. Mira insisted they kill him, but Akio wanted to give him a shot. He summoned his grimoire and announced his tamer was control, but which sin was that attached to? Oh yeah, the Superbia archive, which is Latin for pride, by the way. He executed his tamer and unleashed his entire power, commanded all the magic to dissipate. He ended up ripping their clothes, aside of Mira, who deflected his magic. What a neat trick, reminds me of Super Xeros in a way. Back at the beach, Sherlock kept on asking him all sorts of questions about his new power, while Lilith told him to keep it a secret. Levi ended up squishing her melons and arousing Arata's hormones. Lilith is the last person they should mess with. Later on, Arata met up with Sherlock, who asked him to reveal his Magus mode. The grimoire decided to follow his order and transformed on the spot. Sherlock took the opportunity to capture him using her camera. I'm guessing her sin is sloth since he was immobile. Unfortunately for her, his magic was able to dispel anything, including her clothes. Yep, he is quite the troublemaker. Later that night, Levi asked what she thought of Arata and decided to eavesdrop on their conversation. Or should I say, their imaginary conversation. These fantasies are getting out of hand. Lilith reprimanded them both, while Arata was pumped up and ready to master his new tamer. However, they decided to go to the bath and started walking towards it. In the meantime, Arata started counting the Trinity Seven, and with the 3 of them here, Mira and Akio, who was the 6th and 7th, he wondered. They told him Yui was the 6th and could only be accessed through a dream world. However, the 7th went missing before he arrived, and no one knows where she went. Afterward, they went into the bath, but the girls refused to take off their swimsuits. Akio labelled him a pervert in a good way, but Mira wasn't having it, and decided to leave. Why was she so bossy? Arata was in the middle of all these beauties, but was unable to make a move or get frisky with any of them. How can one man be so unlucky? Sherlock suggested he practice on his tamer and use it to focus on one target. Her theory was that he could erase anyone's magic at will. Lilith didn't believe in it, but Arata insisted he can mimic anyone's ability. Everyone suggested they try it and asked Lilith to show him her summoning magic. After watching him beg like a plebeian, she couldn't say no to that innocent-looking perv. She then used her grimoire to summon a gun, and Arata asked his codex to copy the magic. Lo and behold, he actually did it. This guy was destined to be the demon lord, it seems. A few days later, they went back to the school that was still under construction. Lilith told him to focus on perfecting his own magic, but Arata didn't care and walked into the classroom filled with unconscious students. They were all out cold and Levi dropped in to check. The headmaster revealed how this was also a breakdown phenomenon and all the weak mages were affected by it. He then decided to play silly pranks on the sleeping cuties, but received a hearty smack from the Trinity Seven gals. Mira volunteered to destroy whomever is responsible for this breakdown phenomenon and called upon Akio to help her out. The executioner's squad went ahead, leaving everyone in the dust. The headmaster told them it was coming from underneath the school, implying that Yui is responsible. The rest of the girls were shocked and couldn't bring themselves to eliminate their dear friend. Even so, they headed down to the labyrinth to see if they could talk things out with Yui before taking any drastic measures. Since her magic was incredibly powerful, she had to be sealed off from everyone else, lest she turns everything upside down. They told him how she was the second most powerful magic after the headmaster, with the ability to destroy the entire world if she chose to do so. After meeting the Demon Lord candidate, Arata, her powers became unstable, leading to the current breakdown phenomenon causing a huge stir. Levi and Aaron told him to hurry up before Mira and Akio get to her, since the executioner squad is not known to show mercy. Oh wow, killing one of their own, that's a bit harsh. As they went deeper into the tunnel, they met demonic monsters blocking their path towards Yui. Arata took the chance to summon his grimoire and asked it to turn into the gun from earlier. In the meantime, Aaron placed a barrier in anticipation. Unfortunately, his gun wasn't functioning, and upon throwing it to the ground, it ended up tearing their clothes instead of the demons. Arata sure was useless. Fortunately, Levi was still kicking and used her secret ninja arts to eliminate the demons with finesse. Classy and adorable, these girls are something else. Levi was the most skilled one of them all, and they managed to go in deeper. However, it went dark, and some started groping Lilith and the girls from the shadows. Aaron took the opportunity to burn them to ash, and Arata tried copying her magic on the spot, but was told it wasn't that easy. There was a process to it and took time. Arata didn't care and started teasing Lilith either ways, but Aaron got jealous and placed a defensive spell on him. Levi had the physical prowess while Aaron was bestowed magical affinity. Soon enough, they reached the lower levels and started growing anxious. That's when Akio and Mira showed after destroying all the walls. Arata tried defending Yui, and this caused Akio to cause a fuss with Levi. Let's see how this will end up. I have my bets on the ninja, despite Akio's untamed beauty. Levi summoned her Tema, which caused divine winds to gush out, and Mira started blushing after Arata saw her panties. They took the opportunity to run past them and entered Yui's chambers, where she was incapacitated. They told her this was Yui's real form, and Arata grew wings after resonating with the dragon's magic. Aaron blocked its attack, but was rendered unconscious. Lilith tried shooting the dragon down, but it still wasn't sufficient. Hold up, did Akio seriously win against Levi? Come on now. Wait, she was still alive, since they called for a temporary truce to defeat the dragon, which was considered a deadly threat. Even Mira was scared of it, while Levi helped out Arata dispel his black wings. Akio and Lilith was giving their all, including Aaron, while Levi tried motivating Arata to stand up for the ones he loved. Since when did ninjas give motivational speeches? This cutie was imbued with great wisdom. Levi joined the fray while Lilith lectured Arata on how he should utilize his magic to the fullest. Too much of his magic, and he'll turn into a demon far worse than the dragon, so he must be able to control it and hone his skills. Levi held his hands and bit his finger for good luck. Sexiness overload. Soon after, Arata summoned a pistol and used it to shoot down the dragon in one shot, freeing Yui from the curse. Talk about a life savior. Arata for the win. He woke up the next day with Yui and Aaron beside him, all naked and fuzzy. He slept with them, but didn't sleep with them technically. Lilith walked in and threw him out, since it was time for PE class. Yui couldn't keep her hands and bosoms to herself, triggering the envy of Aaron, who chipped in. Two ladies who were obsessed with him, and another busty bride who had the hots for him. The melons are writing themselves at this point. Akio didn't take this lightly, nor did Mira, who threatened them. Sherlock was excited to get a scoop, and Lilith ordered them all to continue training. Levi suggested continuing the battle with Akio and executed her Tema. So did Akio, and Irene for some reason. Was she going to join the battle? Sherlock had the scoop of a lifetime and suggested Lilith to join in. Her busty melons caused an uproar, and Yui didn't hesitate to execute her own cutesy Tema. Using her melody, she cajoled everyone who saw and transported Arata to her room, or as she called it, her world. She sent the rest to a different dream world, however. Mira wasn't affected since she blocked the sleeping spell. So wait, who was more powerful, Mira or Yui? She vanished and left them both alone, where Arata tried to shoot his shot, and Yui leaned in for a kiss. However, Arata suggested they get to know one another first, meaning he chickened out. He wanted the smoke, but not the fire. Yui was disappointed since he initiated but couldn't follow up. Arata wanted to be friends for the time being and had Yui feeling a bit lecherous. Before he could do anything, Lilith scolded him from her dream, and Yui pecked his cheek as a thank you for saving her. They were back in the real world, but Arata and Yui were still sound asleep. Later that night, Mira was taking a shower and was teased by Akio, who seemed a tad bit freaky. Wait a minute, were these two a thing? These two busty mommies were extremely close to one another and gave off you-know-what vibes. They started talking about Arata and how he should be eradicated. Akio's beauty was on another level, though. The storm was brewing last night and destroyed all the windows. Lilith and Arata were investigating the scene when Mira came by to accuse him. How vulgar. They were both innocent, and Yui came by to show some support. After hearing their plea, Mira decided to look into it and find out who was responsible. She suggested it was similar to the library incident, and Arata went to Arin looking for the tea. He asked her what the library incident was all about, and that's when Levi crept up on them. Yui was apparently scared of ghosts and clanged to Yui. Arin started explaining how it was raining hard that day, while two twins were studying in the library. The windows shattered and left a mess. Then one of the twins disappeared, never to be seen again. So wait, was she the 7th Trinity member? Arata went to offer his assistance, but Mira threatened to fry his sorry ass if he impeded their work. Since Akio was out, they were in need of a guardian and accepted his offer. He then met up with one of the twins, Selena Sherlock, and the place started to rumble and teleported to another realm. Mira used her tamer and found out they were in the Eternal Library. Akio got up and saw Arata feeling out dear Selena. Now that's an opportunistic man. She saved him from a blast, and Lieselotte Sherlock, let's call her Lisa, the busty womanizer who had beef with Levi and Akio. Selena tried explaining they were sisters, while Lilith and Mira called her the former second of the Trinity Seven. Oh wow, she must be super powerful. Her beauty and seduction were on point though. She's just my type. Lisa used her tamer and teleported, but Selena saw her coming since they possessed similar powers, even though Lisa was levels above her. Arata was impressed by her gorgeous figure and tried including her into his harem. Her bustiness was second to none, and Lisa ended up biting into Selena. Wait a minute, what just happened? Another breakdown phenomenon? Lisa was smirking as Selena suffered from her attack. She was now a Demon Lord candidate and had everyone gasping for air, especially Selena. Arata didn't care much and took out his grimoire, who warned him not to engage in battle. He executed his tamer and summoned his pistol while Lisa took out hers to study his magic. She was able to steal the research of any mage she chose and tried inducting him to her team. Since they were both Demon Lord candidates, it would make sense, especially due to her attractive figure and incredible power. She ended up locking lips with him and triggered an inner reaction in both of them. Look at her. She was on cloud 9. Lilith was worried for them, while Lisa's power doubled on the spot. She used his ability to rip off their clothes, but as expected, Mira was unbothered by it. Levi was right behind her, buying Mira some time. Lisa was oozing with magical aura and had Lisa sweating balls. Her speed was incredible, and these two were on similar ground. Unfortunately, her teleportation ability was a nuisance and had Levi jumping around. Soon after, Mira finished her analysis and used an all-out attack. Unfortunately, it wasn't sufficient to bring her down. This was happening because she stole Arata's energy. Arin was worried about Selena, who was fighting for her life. Arata's grimoire suggested they ran away, since they were no match for Lisa. He got up and tried threatening her for a slight moment. It actually worked. She was shocked by his zeal, and Levi took the opportunity to land an attack and slice off one of her wings. Her speed was comparable to Lisa's teleportation and removed her wings completely. Lisa didn't care, since this was nothing, and bid them adieu. They teleported back to the library, where the girls were fully clothed, and blamed Arata for everything. Mira and Akio decided to train him and took him outside. However, he was only focused on their goody-goodies to listen to their lecture. Mira suggested he copy their magic and insisted he fight Akio to get a feel of hers. Bro was ready to feel something else, but Akio didn't hold back and ended up blasting him to the heavens. Meanwhile, Lilith was walking through the hallway feeling anxious to meet Selena and Yui. They were all desperate since Arata was taken away from them, by force it seems. Levi came by and asked them to train, while Arata couldn't keep up with Akio and crashed into Mira on accident. A lovely accident, if you may call it. He was on top of her, complimenting her opie. Akio was impressed by his durability and told him she was going easy on him. Mira, on the other hand, instructed him not to dodge the next attack, since he needs magic to strengthen his body. As such, he should get used to the flow of aura and find out what's unique to him. Elsewhere, Levi was discussing matters with the girls when the windows broke and demons emerged from everywhere. What was happening this time around? Wait a minute. This looks like Lisa's magic. The headmaster wasn't worried since this guy was a powerhouse. He gave off sinister vibes and met up with Lisa, who was looking fabulous as always. These two were about to go at it, and the headmaster destroyed the demons and grabbed Lisa like a doll. She took this as a sign to go all out and tried trapping him using her sister's magic. Binding ability didn't work on him, since he was a headmaster and knew the weakness of every magic. That's why you need to learn the fundamentals before engaging in battle. At this rate, she was helpless and fell in love with his charisma. Oh wait, was that his personal bankai? Or should I say his grimoire? He called it Solomon's Gates and insisted that several mages have gone insane just by staring at it. I won't lie, it was badass. Lisa was astounded and decided to show him her melons, catching him lacking. I guess we now know what his weakness was. Lust tends to bring the worst in people. Akio and Mira told him to hurry up since Lisa emerged and the breakdown phenomenon was underway. Arata's grimoire started speaking and showed them all why his codex was the best in the business. She transformed into his childhood crush, Arin's copycat, and this caught Lilith and the others off guard. However, Lisa barged in and stepped into a trap set up by Levi and was feeling embarrassed. Even so, she broke free and started speaking with Selena, who was feeling terrible. Lisa then made a bet with her sister to return. If Arata beat her, she then decided to steal all of their magic. Unfortunately, Arata came by after summoning his dragon. His codex successfully copied Akio's ability, and Mira was impressed by his resolve. Akio bid him good luck and fell unconscious, and in the present, Arata launched at Lisa, tearing off her tiny bikini. We all know Arata wanted to see them all naked, and this turned on the demonic witch. Everyone was worried for his sake, since Lisa was no pushover. Arata decided to use the dragon, but Lisa was fast on her feet and kept on dodging all his attacks. A game of cat and mouse ensued, with Lisa turning into prime Speedy Gonzales. She tried attacking him, but his defensive magic leveled up. As a result, Lisa resorted to seducing him, which kinda worked in a way. Afterward, the vile witch decided to unlock her tamer for real this time, a power with immense consequences that is able to drastically slow down time. This sounds like the sin of sloth in a way. Lisa kept on teasing him and tried instigating his grimoire. She kindly asked him for a kiss, since she wanted to steal his magic. Unfortunately, our boy wanted the thrill of the hunt and wasn't willing to cave in so easily. He decided to use Akio's ability, but was frozen in time and ended up kissing the gorgeous blonde. Just then, she fell to her knees, since he carved the spell on his tongue and ended up depleting her powers. He approached her and gave her a warm hug, purifying the intoxication. The warmth was too much to handle, and Lisa broke down into tears, especially since she can't return to how things were, since her trump card came with immense consequences. It was too late for her at this point, and she thanked Arata for everything he did. After bidding him farewell, she teleported them back to the real world, where Lilith knocked him down. Arata then explained what happened to Akio and the others, while his grimoire, Sora, introduced herself to the other Trinity Seven members. The headmaster, however, was worried, since the evil mages were on their way. Meanwhile, Lilith was giving them a lecture while Arata was flirting with Levi and Arin. This guy was unstoppable, running the gauntlet with everyone except Lilith, that is, since she wasn't going to give in that easily. Sora tried motivating him to learn from everyone while he could, even though Lilith advised against it, since he needs to control his magic output before triggering another breakdown phenomenon. Arata was then summoned to the headmaster's office and crashed into Mira, who was looking quite adorable. The headmaster then offered to induct Arata and Lilith into their division as part of the executioner's squad. He notified them how one of the 3 Royal Magic Academy was destroyed, and this news started worrying Lilith. The rest of the gang showed up to support her, and Yui couldn't keep her hands to herself. Lilith cursed them all for their lewd nature and started explaining their respective tamer. Levi was envy, Yui had greed, Arin possessed wrath, Selena was sloth, Akio had gluttony, and Mira was imbued with pride. Hold up, does that mean Lilith was lust? She was shy to tell him her tamer until he provoked her to scream it out. I would have never suspected her to possess the sin of lust. Out of frustration, she was about to blow his head off until Levi interrupted and saved him. Aaron tried explaining how everyone's ability was innate to them, and Yui decided to steal the show with a kiss. Lilith then continued to tutor our boy on the fundamentals of magic until she passed out. Sora came around and tried seducing him, even though they were one. Mira and Akio interrupted their wholesome moment and told Sora to buzz off since they wanted Arata alone. They dropped by to make sure he wasn't slacking off and explained the importance of the 3 magical institutions. One was destroyed during Lisa's raid, implying imminent danger to their current dorm room. This was no laughing matter, and Mira suggested they use the teleportation device to investigate the scene of the crime. Akio tried teasing Mira, since she was acting strangely in Arata's presence. Lilith then woke up and witnessed them smooching. You know what that meant? Bam! The following day, they went to the library and finished the day with a lovely bath. How relaxing to be in the midst of beautiful ladies willing to give their life. Lilith ended up showing him the wonderful sunset and complimented his hard work. Her melons were on full alert, and the sin of lust was starting to blossom. They were play fighting while the rest of the girls were watching and decided to mess with Lilith. The headmaster welcomed them back and told them to prepare, since he was about to teleport them away. Unfortunately, the machine started tweaking since dark arts intervened. Luckily for them, Arata, Sora and Mira were teleported to another dimension where he found his loved one. Mira knew she was a fake and attacked her, but this doppelganger was no pushover and ended up escaping. Arata couldn't shake the feeling that she was his previous lover, but Sora interjected, insisting she was another grimoire intended to provoke him. They were already playing mind games with our boy, and Mira told him to F off, since she wanted to go in alone. Without Akio by her side, she started acting like a total a-hole. Even so, Arata decided to follow her and help out, since they were the only ones teleported here. The entire school was closed off by a barrier, and there seemed to be no sign of human life anywhere. But that doesn't mean demons won't be roaming the place. Mira unleashed her teamer, but ended up getting her clothes ripped off. Wait a minute, what just happened there? Sora explained how their magic was being blocked off. As such, she told him to escape with Mira while she took care of the worthless heathens. Oh wow, Sora was a diabolical monster herself, huh? The other grimoire came by and issued a challenge while Arata and Mira decided to hide and wait for their savior. This was the first time these two were alone, and Mira couldn't handle the ever-growing tension. She told him to look for the mark, and Arata volunteered to do it alone while she rested. Despite his fervent chivalry, Mira insisted on tagging along since her knowledge could come in handy. Was she completely powerless without her magic? Meanwhile, Sora was knee-deep in battle and decided to end things once and for all. These two were powerhouses and seemed relatively equal until Sora was sealed. How unfortunate. It was getting late, and Mira told him the clock tower could be the source of the barrier. She told him to go first, since she had no undies. Arata didn't hesitate to tease her and promised to look once. This didn't sit well with her, and he ended up carrying her on his back. I bet she was light work for our guy. Mira then told him about her past and how students used to mock her for being powerful. It was the jealous type of mockery which isolated her from everyone, until Akio came along one day and bullied her into becoming friends. They became best friends and were inseparable. One fateful day, she unlocked her tamer and Akio carried her to safety. She then motivated her to use it for the greater good, and that was the day she decided to become the head of security. Arata was impressed by her backstory but wanted to focus on the mission at hand. They made it to the top of the clock tower and immediately saw the tiny Sora, locked in a prism of depression. The evil doppelganger showed up, giving off Madara Uchiha vibes, with the crimson moon behind her and the terrorizing soundtrack in the background. She told him to join her, else she unleashes the demons on poor little Mira, who was all helpless and frail without her magic. Sora telepathically spoke with Arata and told him to destroy the core and collapse this artificial domain. He then made her offer to stay if she let go of Mira, and proceeded to get closer to her while Mira begged him not to leave. He asked if Sora could be spared as well, and she reminded him how grimoires can't be destroyed. She then informed him how his former lover was not the person he thought she was, and intended on destroying the world and purifying everyone like some noble saint figure. She then broke her promise and tied his legs before eliminating Mira and locking up Sora for good. He was double-crossed, it seemed. Sora cried out for help and Mira was pinned to the ground. The end was nigh and our hopeless perv was feeling pathetic. This was not about to end well, and Arata suddenly turned into a loathing monster. The darkness in him started emerging and skeletons started shooting out of him like he was the devil or something. So this is what his awakening looks like. The demon lord Arata. Even his voice changed and the doppelganger was thrown aside like trash. Sora was saved luckily, and Arata ended up darkening the sun and created another breakdown phenomenon. Mira's magic was back due to his ability, and she proceeded to unleash her tamer in hopes of getting Arata back. They launched at him, but all to no avail, since his anti-magic was on a whole other level. Compared to his might, these guys were worthless runts. Mira slapped him back to reality, and Sora used the opportunity to stabilize his emotions. Can't believe they stopped him using cheap circus tricks. So much for a demon lord, more like a demon valet. Now that he was back, they decided to defeat the doppelganger, but Arata asked her to politely let them out, surprising both Mira and Sora. He promised her a treat if she went along. However, there was nothing she could do, since Arata blackened the sun and took control from her. She started crying and told them how they'll all perish. Even so, they weren't worried, and Arata summoned his shotgun. Wait a minute, what happened to his little pistol? Sora and Mira chipped in, and they asked the doppelganger to come along. She gave some of her energy to Arata, and using their combined efforts, they unleashed hell on the sun, destroying it to pieces. That's when Akio and Lilith came by, and Arata fell into her bosoms. Mira explained why he was acting fatigued and started blushing. Akio realized her feelings and carried her like old times, while the evil mages were looking on. They found a place to rest in the meantime, and Mira deduced that Arata had lost all his magic and energy. His demon form must have had severe consequences. Akio suggested eliminating him on the spot, goading a reaction from Mira and Lilith. Her melons were looking quite perky, and Mira explained what happened and suggested contacting the headmaster. A few hours later, Arata woke up with his childhood crush beside him and apologized for failing her. She told him how proud she was of him and decided to attack him. Wait a minute, what just happened there? Lilith came to support him, and they realized this wasn't the doppelganger, rather, the real deal who turned rogue. This version was on par with the Demon Lord candidate and was now among the evil mage association. Lilith wanted to protect him since his magic was fully depleted, and that's when Arin showed up in the nick of time. The Sin of Wrath, Akio and Mira, the cavalry just arrived. Arata begged her to stop, but she wasn't willing to listen and told him the campus was in danger before teleporting away. What were they going to do now? Their school was in chaos, and Arata insisted they head back despite his accumulated fatigue. Back at the school, everyone was panicking while the headmaster looked on in contempt. His school was under jeopardy, and Levi was all alone battling the villains. The eye-patched cutie was a dual sword-wielding samurai, it seems, an excellent counter for the ninja. The headmaster had his hands full while Yui transported everyone to her dream world. They can now fight without repercussions. Levi was locked in and used her ninja techniques to summon shadow clones to distract the samurai. Their speed was phenomenal, and Levi managed to cut her neck. The samurai launched at her and landed a critical strike. This was not going well for our beloved ninja. To make matters worse, she couldn't use her left hand after Lisa damaged it. The headmaster told her not to use it, but Levi was about to use her trump card. She unleashed her tamer, the Sin of Envy, and called it the Leviathan. The winds were demonic, and her tornadoes proved a challenge. However, it was just a distraction for her to escape. The headmaster placed a barrier to buy some time until Arata and the others came by. Yui was extremely worried for them, and it seems the teleportation device was broken, spelling disaster for the helpless bunch. Akio started losing hope, and Lilith suggested using their all to fix it. Levi and the samurai went at it for round 2, and her arm was fixed this time around. She used strings to bind her, and that's when the samurai unleashed her tamer. She transformed into a diabolical demon and sliced Levi in one shot. Yui started glitching, and this caused Sherlock to head to her. She used her binds to stop her on the spot, but that didn't work either. Why was the headmaster just looking on instead of helping them? This was bull, and he knew it. Fortunately, Lisa was able to escape her frozen realm and join the fray using Sherlock's ability. The samurai was paralyzed on the spot and realized how powerful the Sin of Sloth actually was. She sacrificed one of her weapons and escaped the bind, however. This time around, Levi dropped in and slashed her to bits. 2 on 1, that's hardly fair. Well, might as well even the odds with another partner. Q, Arata's former childhood friend. Now this was promising to be the battle of the ages. Wait a minute, was that Arata? The cavalry finally arrived. Lisa was excited to meet her lover and tried seducing him. The samurai was upset since he groped her melons, and that's when Arata summoned his grimoire and unleashed his tema. Everyone followed and transformed on the spot. The Trinity Seven were finally together, and the headmaster decided to watch them and placed a bet with the other paladin. The battle was underway, and it was a 2-against-9 battle. Akio landed the first blow. However, Arata's childhood love was not budging an inch. She used her whips to attack, but Arin used her magical weapon to weaken her barrier. This gave Lilith and Arata a chance to unleash their full might. That sure ended quickly. His childhood crush explained how she was thrown into the abyss and lost all hope until she saw the future where Arata and the Trinity Seven destroyed the world. Wait a minute. Arata ends up becoming the Demon Lord. No wonder she was fighting hard to defeat him. Despite her vision, he promised her he would never destroy the world and watched her vanish into thin air. Her paladin took her essence and told him to power up till the day they meet. The following day, Lilith came by and took him shopping. The other members were stalking them, and that's when they met Maid Mira looking all adorable. Wait a minute, Akio was a chef? The woman of my heart. These two had a wonderful date and became an official couple. What a pleasant ending to a wonderful show. Well, that's all for this episode of Trinity 7. If you loved this recap, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to stay updated on future content. And news update, they did not kiss.